I am William Peters, Production Manager of the Wisconsin Trigger Company. Today we will be going over our latest model, the M-K IIA3, and all of its various features. So let's get started here. Alright, let's check out what we have in the box. First is the lifetime transferable guarantee, the tuning manual, and the supplemental manual for the A3. We have the spring disconnector chart here. We got a couple of magnets, stickers, all kinds of fun stuff. And then the real heart of the package. Here we have the hammer, the trigger housing, a spring set, and pins, of course, the new safety selector, and a hex wrench set, as well as some lube here from Slip 2000. Let's talk about some of the new features of the M-K IIA3. First of all, our trigger housing. We have cut the tail much shorter than it was for the M-K IIA2. The reason for that is so that it's compatible with our new safety selector. It is ambidextrous, meaning you can put it in from either the left or the right side. The over travel is adjustable with this little adjusting screw we have in there. And once you have that where you want it, simply remove the paddle and tighten the locking screw inside. Let's talk about what over travel is. So after we verify the rifle is unloaded, we can take off the upper receiver and set it off to the side. Over travel is the distance that the trigger will travel after the hammer is released. With our new A3 system, that over travel is adjustable to the user's preference. Moving on to installation. The first thing we're going to do is choose the disconnector spring that is right for you. Now we've included a very handy spring chart here to help you remove. It's got installation and different information about the different springs we include. Now the trigger housing will come with a blue spring, the medium one, installed. But we also have this red spring, which is our lightest. And we have a white spring, which is our heaviest. Now, supposing that you do want to change these, all you have to do is take one of the supplied Allen wrenches, remove the plug on the bottom of the trigger housing here, tap out the disconnector spring that's already in there. Sometimes you need to get in there and wiggle it and pry it out a little bit. Once it's out, simply take your desired spring, put it into the trigger housing, and put the plug back in. You want the plug at least flush with the bottom of the trigger housing. You can also turn it in about a turn or two to give it some preload weight if you desire a little bit more weight on the disconnector there. But that's all there is to that. Now we're going to put the trigger and hammer springs on the trigger housing and the hammer. We have also supplied those for you. Like so. Now we're going to drop these in the stripped down receiver here. So grab some of the pins, and we're going to insert this with the grooves going in last from left to right. As you're putting these pins in, you will need to tap them into place because we have them oversized intentionally to allow for a very tight fit in the receiver. It keeps the pins from walking themselves out. So we'll give that a little tap there. And it is in there snug. Next, let's take the hammer and push that into place. Be very careful when doing this because they like to hop out and go all over the place. Again, going from left to right with the grooves going in last. Once again, we'll have to give it a little bit of tap to make sure it seats itself correctly. There. And one other thing I'd like to mention is to make sure that the springs themselves are properly seated in the receiver. Okay, so we're setting the disconnector now. That is the next step. To do that, we will have to find what we refer to as the 0 point. Now what that is a point where the trigger loses all second stage. As you can see there, just dropping it in, we have second stage. So we're going to start turning the disconnector screw here in until we lose that. And come to the aforementioned 0 point. Start out with a half a turn. Oh, and we lost it already there. Keep in mind that you may have to do that a few times in order to get to that point. So let's back it up a little bit. Let's go a quarter turn and see what happens. And we have regained second stage. So let's turn it in about 1/8 of a turn. We want to get this just perfect, just to the point where it loses it. So after 1/8 a turn, we still have a little bit. So let's keep turning it a tiny amount in until we completely lose that second stage. And there it is. So now that we've found the 0 point, our next step is to back this screw out 3/8 of a turn. This gives you your second stage where we would like you to ideally set it. Play with it a few times, get a feel for it. You can adjust it a little bit from here, but this is where, like I said, ideally it should be placed. So once you've got that established, we are ready to Loctite. Now to help with this, you're going to want to scribe a little mark on the top of the screw here and line it up with a point on the receiver. Make a note of where that scribe is because you will be returning it to that position after we Loctite it. So now that you've got that squared away, let's back this screw out about 4 turns. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now at this point, you would apply the Loctite as per its instructions. However, since this is just a demonstration, I will not be putting on there. So let's suppose I did just put Loctite on it, and let's turn it back in 4 turns now. Back to its original position. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now let's line that mark on the top of the screw up with that point on the receiver that we picked out earlier. And right there is about perfect. Now test it out a few times to make sure it's where you left it and you like it. Don't be afraid to do this multiple times just to get it perfect, because that's what we want. We don't want good enough, we want it absolutely perfect. So once you have that Loctite in there, it is all set to go. Try not to touch the disconnector or agitate the triggers too much from this point on, at least until the Loctite sets. So here's our new part, our safety selector. You can put it in from either side, depending on if you're a lefty or righty or whatever you prefer. For this video, we are going to put it in from left to right. So for somebody right-handed. Now we're going to have to tighten up the pistol grip here, but first make sure that the safety detent and spring are in the proper position. Now once that is firmly in place, make sure that it functions properly. And we have good contact everywhere. First, let's check for proper safety engagement. So make sure that the switch is in the safe position and slowly pull the trigger back. As you can see, it is doing its job. Now let's agitate it a little bit just to make sure it is definitely working correctly. And it appears to be. I can't jostle it out of there even if I wanted to. All right, so we can safely say that it is safe. Now we get to setting the over travel, the good part of the new A3. So, as I mentioned before, over travel is a distance that the trigger will travel after the hammer is released. And there is no right or wrong way to set this. It is totally up to the user's preference. So, in order to set the over travel here, we have supplied a hex wrench. And this is used for the adjusting screw going straight down the safety selector when it is in the fire position. It is easily reached through the top of the lower receiver and adjusted by turning it further in or further out. Turning it in will decrease your over travel, while turning it out will increase the over travel. Keep in mind that if you turn it too far in, it will cause the trigger system to bind and will not allow the firearm to function properly. Now once you have that set where you want it, remember it's all preference. You need a little bit more than that. There, that's just about perfect. So, once you have that set where you'd like it, simply remove the paddle from the front of the selector. Take the other supplied Allen wrench, and you will find that there is a small locking screw on the inside here. And all you need to do is turn it in until it stops. You want it nice and snug up against the adjusting screw there. Once that is in place, put the paddle back on, screw it in, and there you go. Your over travel has been set. Now, as you can tell, this allows for easy adjustability even on the field. So you don't have to keep it where it is. Play around with it till you get it where you like it. So that completes installation. Let's do one final safety check to make sure everything is functioning properly. And that seems pretty good to me. I don't think we have any problems there. So next you'll want to take your Slip 2000 that we've included, lube everything up real nice, and pop your upper back on, take it down to the range, break it in, and that is all you will need to do. So now you can take that thing down to the range and enjoy your brand new M-K IIA3 system. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Feel free to connect with us on any of our social media sites. If you had any problems whatsoever, give us a call, write us a letter, email us. We are also now offering live video conferencing on Google Hangouts, so check that out if you would like to. Again, thanks for watching.